This week in comic books, we get Steel, the Dark Knight, and you want to add inclusion into a story and make sure everybody's represented and do it in a fun and interesting way? That's how you do it. Now, over in the land of Marvel, we get Captain America and Iron Man. They team back up again and heavily lean into a storyline that I don't think anybody ever really read. We'll talk about it. Also, in the land of Independence, what happens when you kind of combine this wrestling and down in the bayou and folk voodoo spell type creepiness? You get Crimson Cage, which surprisingly was interesting. All that and a load more comic books, plus to keep you up to date on what's going on in the community. Let's roll the intro. Hey, what's going on, you wonderful weirdos? Pocan Joe here, faithfully giving you his comic book review, and I can't tell you how cool it is to have you here with me. So this is just a quick rundown of this week's comic books, and we're going to make this one quick because as you're watching this right now, I am in the air, flying to C2E2 to get you some of that good footage from out there and a lot of the comic book community. So I'm super excited. So let's jump into this so I can go jump on a plane. First, right off the bat, we get Steel, the Dark Knight. So this is cool, like I said in the intro. So, I know this is kind of the push now to add inclusion and probably things people aren't comfortable with in comic books. And it always comes off really weird and bad in a lot of comic books. Like that is the thing that makes them the superhero, and it's not, right? You should go beyond the imagination, and this does that. So in this one, we kind of figure out that the kingdoms are kind of split up. We know that Black Lightning, he's a king in his own kingdom, and Wonder Woman, she's a princess over in hers, of course, right? And then we had, the elves, right? Joel, Clark, and all that over there, right? I'm sure there's more. I'm almost positive we're going to get a kind of a sneak peek at Atlantis or something like that. But anyway, so in this one, Wonder Woman and Kal-El, right? Supergirl are kind of a thing in this one. They're kind of romantically involved, right? Big kiss scene, the whole 9 yards. So if you're not up to speed because you missed the first issue, what had happened was apparently Green Lantern's telling Green Arrow to go kill Jor-El, Clark Kent's father from Krypton, blast that fool with an arrow in the face, in his eyeball, actually. It's crazy, right? So now we're looking at the aftermath of the death, right? And, some people are like, let's rush into war. Other cats are like, no, let's hold up. They're questioning, locking up people with superpowers because it's a prophecy. Very, very Shakespearean in here in the way that it's written, and I love it for that. And on this one, we find out that, maybe Black Lightning may have had something to do with all this as well, right? And Supergirl finds out about this and apparently kills his son. So now we know that we're on the brinks of war, and it's about to go crazy, stupid, wild. And I love every minute of this. I will chase this down to its very, very end, good or bad at this point, because you already got me hooked. So good job, writers. Yeah, and that cover, look at that. Rah, rah. Right, I guess. I don't know. Another good book from DC this week, The Order of the World, Arkham City. So in this one, we come to find out that Solomon Grundy has been around for a long time, a really long time. And he was kind of there when Gotham kind of got started, and the insanity that created Gotham, and that kind of fits with the motif of you can lay a map of Arkham Asylum over Gotham and see individual cells, and that's kind of where they're at in the story. So we're chasing that down. We also get the religious part of this from the days where Gotham first started, a possible skull. This 10-eyed man is just creepy as all get out, and everything he's saying is kind of happening. So the question is, does crazy fit in where reality lives, right? And in this story, it does. At least it seems that way right now. Let's see where we go down as we follow Dr. Joy here, our psychiatrist, as we go down those paths there. So for the most part, this is a very intriguing read. If you look for a whole lot of action, probably this is more like a mind twister type of thing. Let's see here. Star One Squadron. It's not good. All right, so what do you do with all these C-list, maybe even lesser than that, kind of superheroes? Where do they go? Apparently they go work for this company that basically is a boiler room / Ponzi scheme that sells people certifications in BS and has superheroes show up to parties and bar mitzvahs. They weighed heavy on the bar mitzvah thing. I don't know why that was. And all this kind of stuff, right? You kind of get these kind of little gig economy type jobs working with them. And we get introduced to a character, old school character, an actual character named Gangbuster. And he's got a little brain damage going on, right? Like he can't remember things. He's a little slow, you know, almost like an amnesia type of thing. And we find his last known address. Red Tornado takes him there, and the lady's like, nah, I never seen him before, you know, but, you know, I'll keep my ears open. Come to find out, the Gangbuster in this book and her were actually a thing, probably married at the time. Gangbuster was also in a mental ward for a while, and literally I loved it when the interns, the mental health workers, if you were, like, they see a commercial for Star One and they're like, or One Star, and they're like, hey, you want to be a superhero? And he's like, beware evildoers, and they're like, good enough, dump them at their doorstep. Like, I was like, oh, that's so bad, right? So that kind of played into this. A lot of DC's been playing a lot with the insanity thing, right? The psychology of it and everything, and they're kind of like lightly hitting it. They're not like getting deep into it, and thank goodness for that, because a lot of this stuff is actually not as interesting as it sounds. But this is fun for the most part. Batman number 118. So I'm missing a storyline someplace on this. If you know, let me know in the comments down below. I'm sure it was something I stopped reading, but apparently there's a thing called Batman Inc. It's a bunch of Batmans from around the world. Apparently they're in a little bit of trouble because they got into it with a character by the name of the Abyss, and apparently they killed him, and like even Batman's like, the evidence points to that, right? So what had happened is Bruce Wayne, when he got broke, kind of cut the funding of this particular group of people. But guess who picked up the funding? Lex Luthor. That's right. So I'm kind of excited about that because I'm a Lex Luthor fan. So I'll keep reading some more of that, I'm sure. Next, Soul Plumber. This kind of took a weird turn. I don't know if I like this or not. So our priest character, Edgar, meets up against this cat, right? This kind of priest warrior guy from the Catholic Church. And gets it handed to him. Not by Edgar the priest, but this dimensional being that came through some portal that he accidentally released, because apparently the Vatican's the ones that are selling these portals to people that are kind of shady, right? Like evangelists, scam evangelists, if you will. Okay, I'll buy that. They kill him, and apparently they got sleeper agents in the U.S. They got another guy, and they're going to go kill Edgar. They're weighing heavily onto this profanity thing, this kind of cult that uses profanity to explain itself, and it's all done in whimsy and satire and just out of context belief, right? And that's fun, but I don't know if I'm just like, okay, you guys are weighing too much on it now, not everything is, you know, ha ha ha. But it is a funny book, so I'm torn on this one. If you've been reading these, let me know what you think. Next, Swamp Thing. So this kind of ends an arc, so we can pick up another arc. We got Woodrune back at it. If you don't know, Woodrune's always been the opposite of what Swamp Thing is, right? A plant-based being. But in this one, he's just his regular self, which is confusing. I'm not sure why that happened, because I know I saw him as Woodrune, the swamp monster or plant monster thing in this book. I don't know why all of a sudden that happened. I missed something somewhere, I'm sure. But regardless, him and his brother went at it. Apparently his brother's dying, and the corporation's to blame. Big rich corporations are evil, don't you know? It's kind of where they took this, and I thought it was kind of a cheap shot, and it doesn't really mean anything. Amazing Fantasies. So I read every issue of this because I love the epicness of it, and then this ending of the afterlife and how we don't really understand it, and they kind of flip the story to where it basically just starts all over again. It was dumb and annoying. I really didn't like it. I was like, oh, you guys could have done something so much cooler instead of just making it a big, whoop, that's how the afterlife works. Sorry. I'm like, yeah. So, unfortunately, this wasn't a home run for me. The last two issues were kind of lacking on this one. But it kicked, man. Like, when it started, I was like, oh, hell yeah. Right? And then, I don't know. It was weird. Alright, so Captain America and Iron Man. This is leaning heavily into a storyline that I hope somebody out there read and can explain it to me. So we have a character. She's going to go to jail. And then all of a sudden this character named 51 steps in. Because apparently there was a Project 50, which had to deal with the states, and you got these different characters. 4 of them now. They're just a hodgepodge of ridiculousness, kind of thrown together. 51 looks like an alien. He's got like a freeze blaster thing. They're trying to get to this girl. This girl doesn't want to get caught, so she's escaping here and going there. Apparently this alien dude wants something. She knows what it is, but they won't tell us what it is in the book yet, because apparently it's a big deal. I'm going to follow this down because I haven't read a good Captain America story or an Iron Man story in a while. So lean into it if you want. Hopefully I can pick up the tidbits, or you can tell me of what I need to know, because I just feel like I really need an Iron Man and American or a Captain America story in my life, because it's been a while. Next, I am not the biggest Daredevil fan. I don't find the character particularly interesting. I know that that's reasons for a thumbs down for some people, but hold on now. I got this Devil's Reign, and I like this. Even though they're rehashing something, right? We're doing the whole Mutant Act, Civil War, the thing that happened in the teen agers, where you had to be over 21 to be a superhero or whatever. They're kind of leaning, Wilson Fisk is leaning into this, right? And outlawing everything. And of course, who are the enforcers? Villains in this, because it's a villainous thing. And we're thinking he's doing all this so he can be mayor of New York, get reelected. Well, no, he's got bigger sights, the presidency. And it looks like he's getting backed, because the kids of the Purple Man, they were like, hey, we need our dad dead. And he did that. It was kind of literally, not literally, because it was in a book, but you get what I'm saying. I like this because, again, we get to see a lot of our characters kind of pop out of nowhere. We got some good Captain America action. Plus, you get splash pages like this. Come on now. That's just cool art. And we get characters, maybe you don't read a whole lot about, but we get their engagement into it too. Like Luke Cage, Jessica Jones, they're, have a child. So what does that effect happen? So you got street level people and high level superheroes all being affected by this ridiculous law. I like this because it's just a check to power type of thing, and I like that. Next, Independence, Lunar Room. This is just a mess. So you got 2 narrations that are going on in here, and at any time they'll just flip it on you without really giving you any clue who's talking. I'm not really sure. I guess you were looking for that action-packed hook to get people launched into it, but all it did was bring up more questions. That's the best review I have for you. There's a female. Apparently, she was a wolf or a werewolf at one time, and then for some reason stopped being a werewolf. And this kid, because he's got a piece of a magic sword, kind of made her a half werewolf. We don't really get any context to that. That's what happened in the most lamest way ever. Basically, a glorified fantasy being match. She was kind of coaxed into. And of course, it has to take place at a school with young recruits about magic stuff, because that's the hot buzz right now. It's a mess. All right, next, the Crimson Cage. So this is interesting. It can get a little dry. Know that before you pick it up and read it. It gets a little dry in certain areas, but I kind of like this whole swamp voodoo thing that's going on, and then a voodoo swamp creature kind of telling this guy what he's got to do to be successful in wrestling, which is kill the most popular wrestler right now. Does he do it though? I'm going to leave that up to you. You got to read the book yourself, but this gets crazy, and it kind of shows you where what power can do to certain people and fame and stuff like that. They kind of touch on that too, and I really like that. If you're not ready for that kind of thing, or if you get it all of a sudden instead of growing into it, how it can actually affect you or the loved ones around you. I liked that. I thought that was smart. So, as I said, that's my books this week. What did you read? What did you pick up? Definitely let me know. And like I said, right now as you're watching this, I'm in the air, flying like an eagle to C2E2. So definitely, if you haven't yet already, you may want to hit the notification bell. I don't know when I'm going to post something or do something at this thing. But I want to get as much as I can, because I know a lot of you couldn't come, and I want to be able to share the experience with you. So hopefully this works out all right, and I just don't end up, no signal, no nothing. I got access pass to a VIP room, so it shouldn't be a problem. We'll get you something, I promise you that. And to all the other guys that are coming out there, I can't wait to see all of you in the community. Also, if you see me walking around C2E2 and you're there, Stop, say hi. Say, hey man, hate your show. Like that's fine. This is why I do this stuff, is to meet more comic book nerds like you all. Alright guys, I got nothing else. I gotta book out of here. I'm super excited. I don't think I'm gonna be able to get much sleep, but we're gonna do something. Alright guys, I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.